Right, and I don't know as much about the Internet of Things as Alex, because all I've been doing is writing about it. So, if Alex is here, I don't know if she's here, she could correct me anytime. Just say, hey, that's not true. But what I do basically is my job is to set up teams and projects where people do stuff. And I've done some Internet of Things projects, and I've done them the way that either the client wanted or I've done them the way that they needed to be done for this particular context. But I want to talk about how we could do it. And if you're ever up against a project like that, about an IoT project, you could maybe use some of my thoughts, just build your plan based on the plan that I have in my mind about Internet of Things. So I'm gonna take it piece by piece, and like Gosia said, this presentation was supposed to be delivered. It's going to be delivered next week in a different conference in a longer format. So I'm going to skip over some things. Don't worry about it. They're pretty boring, so I'll just stick with the interesting stuff. Okay, so first thing is, what is Internet of Things? And you know because of Alex. Now I had some jokes prepared here, but they don't make sense in the context anymore. I do have one that works. A friend asked me once, what's the cloud? When everybody was saying, let's move it to the cloud, and it was all a new thing, and we started trying to figure it out. What is this cloud? And the conclusion we came to was, it's the internet. The cloud is okay, so we move it to the internet. Now, when we talk about Internet of Things, what's Internet of Things? Well, it's still the internet. It's just some new devices are using it, right? It's not your phone or your laptop, but there's a bunch of other things. I'm going to skip over this. Okay, so the Content Wrangler recently wrote about some cool applications of the Internet of Things in the home. And you can I don't know if you get this presentation after the conference, you can use the link to read about it. They talk about how you can set up your own Internet of Things devices for your home. Basically, your lights come on when you come back home, or window shutters, you can close them on your phone because you're too lazy to get up. Whatever, there's like a bunch of devices that in the home that use the internet. And this is a very serious graph or whatever that shows you the different applications in the different industries of the Internet of Things right now. Those are the startups that come up with IoT ideas in the current business space, and you can see there's a lot of them in all different areas like wearables, manufacturing, cybersecurity. And there's just a bunch of, like, you could probably say everywhere. You can use these things anywhere. For example, in the city, examples of Internet of Things. And I'm talking about this because this all ties into the way we're going to be writing about an application. Okay, so your task as a technical communicator is going to be, you have this thing which you're supposed to describe, right? It's an IoT thing. So how do I approach this now? Some applications of IoT are going to be in the city where things are going to discover, are there free parking spaces here or there? Which way should you go to get somewhere? Maybe there's people moving around because of some events, so maybe some streets are going to be crowded. In the city, they can also detect potentially dangerous areas, criminal areas, or rioting that's coming up for whatever reason, right? Retailers use IoT to basically target people. Well, it doesn't sound so good, but help them find their way in like a big store or like a restaurant or a bookstore. Wherever you are, IoT applications can basically help you buy things, make it easier for you. I'm going to talk about it in a second when I give you a real-life example. We can also use them to take something very old, which existed before, but we make it work in new ways now. And the easiest, the most obvious example is your gas at home or your electricity, the little meter that says how much you used this month, right? You can put it on the internet. And it used to be so often that the guy would come over to your home and check the meter. Well, they don't have to do that anymore because of telemetry, right? But there's more applications you can apply here for old electricity grids. When you put in a connector to a solar energy thing, you can control it over the internet, like from your home, and decide what happens to your surplus electricity that you're generating, and maybe put it to a different use. There's also an important notion is that you use whatever exists already, right? So if there's if there are any machines that have been used for 20 years, if you can put a little thing on top of them that is connected to the internet and get some insights or get a new way to control something, then that's good. You know, you can make your life easier. You know, shut something off when you're away, for example, at your home or at your company or whatever. And also, Internet of Things make it so that we have less hardware around us. I mean, technically there's more, because there's tiny little things that you put somewhere, but you can make it so that you don't see them, right? So Alex gave the example of your shoes, which are on the internet, right? But they don't look like a tech gizmo. They're just shoes, right? So you can have something in your bag, something in your pants, something in your, I don't know, in your collar, which you don't see, but it makes everything a tech, makes everything a gadget. So the world of the future is not going to be a cyber utopia where everything is chrome and metal, but it's all going to be wood and leather, or fake leather or whatever, and it's all going to be connected to the internet, and you're not going to even see any devices, maybe. I don't know. Here's a prediction if you like predictions. Okay, so what this means for writing or for technical communication is three key aspects. It's going to be online. It's going to depend on the context, because you're near a thing, or you're in a place, or you're moving towards something, or you're moving away from something, right? It's the context. And it's also going to be invisible. So this gives you a challenge of how you serve the text, how you serve your content, how you serve your graphics. You will probably be using all sorts of devices, like mobile phones right now, you know, smartphones. Could be a way that you deliver your content, but in the future, we don't know what it's going to be. Because maybe one day, glasses with displays will take off, and maybe that's the way people are going to be reading about stuff. Maybe something is going to be whispering into your ear. Maybe there's going to be something that plugs directly into your brain. I don't know. So the question is, how do you write something that makes it ready for 200 years in the future when it gets streamed into your brain? Right. So let's talk about the content that we can create. And here's an example from Stmode. If you don't know, they create beacons, which you can put on anything, and they do stuff, basically. That's the marketing brief, right? The elevator pitch. So their website is a good example of Internet of Things and writing about Internet of Things in a way that blends technical communication and marketing. I'm going to show you why. These are small for a reason. You don't need to read what's on these screens. Just look at the purpose of each screen. Okay, so the first thing is a little marketing bit where you can see a video and you can read, just a sentence about it. If you go deeper, it gives you 3 paragraphs. It tells you, okay, so this is what they are, kind of why you would want to use them. How does it work? Well, it's a very simple, but it's a technical description, right? So it's something maybe a technical writer wrote. How does it work? And there's a simple infographic. Again, shoes are a topic. And then just 3 more paragraphs, right? Then they move on to hardcore code. There's just a code sample on the page. It's on the home page, it's on the front page, right? We're still on the front page of Stmode. So this is probably something an API writer put together as a good example. Right, so this is a good example of how you could set it up if you're an API customer. Then they have this little animation, which I'm not going to play, but it basically shows an example of a guy walking into a store, and then when he just enters, his phone says, "Welcome to whatever store, welcome to the shoe store," and then when he approaches some shoes that our system has figured out he would probably like because of what he bought previously, they're gonna say, "Hey, look," his phone is gonna go, "Look to the left. Your favorite kind of shoes is there, and it costs so much, and then maybe you can get it here." And there's a bunch of those beacons which recognize where this person is in the store. Okay, so this is a very good example of also technical writing or technical animation, which shows somebody how something works. Then they still have questions. Okay, here's a bunch of other stuff if you want to go deeper into it. And they have 3 areas. And SDK and software is something which probably is mostly written by technical authors. Then if you scroll down, if you go click one of those links, you get to the community portal. And then you also, and in this you have, it's basically like an online help. Right, so this is strictly something that a technical author would prepare for Stmode. And this is what a topic looks like. It's your typical manual, right, with your headings, your content, your related links. And at the bottom, there's this person wrote this. Do you like it? Yes, no, right? So it's your typical feedback loop. And there's also a comments section. Okay, now the question is everyone online when you're delivering this content, right? Because it's not always a website. The website is not the only thing you can use it for. Now the answer should be, is everyone online? Yes, because it's the Internet of Things, right? So this thing wouldn't work if there was no internet. But sometimes you're setting something up so there's no internet yet. Maybe you need a book that you carry in your bag when you're the guy who's setting up the system, and you read from the book how to do it. So you don't read it on your phone, but maybe you can read it on your phone because you have it offline. It's just a downloaded package of documents. Okay, so from this section, I think 3 things relate mostly to what we write as technical communicators. The format that we choose for our content, marketing and technical content blends in this situation, and still it has to be context aware. So who's going to read what, and where are they going to read it? You know, the API documentation is most likely something you read on a big screen on your laptop or on your computer. But if it's just instructions for setting something up, maybe it's a little book. Okay, so how do we write it? Let me tell you. So like I said before, I did 3 projects, which is a huge amount of experience in the Internet of Things area, because it's a fresh thing, right? So I guess 3 is a lot, right? Well, I don't know. My first piece of advice is separating the content from presentation. And this is the oldest thing we've been hearing since, I don't know, 20 years ago when they first invented the internet. It was longer than 20 years ago, but anyway. We've been hearing a lot about this. You got to separate the content from the presentation. So the words you write do not depend on how you're going to present them, right? So you write some words, and then let's say somebody else decides how they're going to be presented. Is it going to be a huge screen like this one? Is it going to be a small one like on your watch? It's got to work. So here's an example from Karen McGrain's presentation, Content in the Zombie Apocalypse, I think is the title of the presentation. And I quote this in every talk I give because it's the best presentation I've ever heard. I encourage you to check it out. It's in the link below. She talks about how TV Guide is your little book that tells you what's going to be on TV this week, right? And TV Guide, they wrote their descriptions of I Love Lucy episodes in the 60s. And they are still using those descriptions. And they wrote those descriptions for the printed format, right? For the little book that they delivered to people's homes. But they didn't know back then in the 60s that they were going to have computers and smartphones and smart TVs. Still, they were able to use this content because they separated the content from presentation. They modeled this content, put it in a database, and it's usable right now. So what they did is they have 3 types of descriptions: short one, mid one, and a long one, right? And that's basically it. It's tied to a title, I Love Lucy, episode 6, The Chocolate Factory or whatever, right? And there it is. You can use it years later. So think about it whenever you fantasize about what the future holds. Is your content going to be portable to the future? Yeah, you go to the future. Okay, so here's an example of something I've been thinking about. It would be cool to have. And this is where I want to go through like a mental exercise of creating a system of help for an IoT thing. I've always wanted not to have to carry keys in my pocket, because when you sit down, they can hurt you. When you fall down, they will definitely hurt you. And I carry my phone, and I've started moving like my IDs and my money to my phone. So why would I carry keys? I would like my lock on my door at home to open from an app on my phone. And there's a bunch of solutions like that out there, but here's a hypothetical one. Okay, so the idea is basically this, that on your phone you have a key, and when you approach a door, maybe it opens on its own, right? Because it knows it's you. And then when you leave, it knows you're not inside, so it locks the door. Simple, right? There's a bunch of other things you can do, but let's start with that. Okay, so if you want to buy it and you Google it, you come to my imaginary smart lock homepage, right? And it tells you, why not get yourself a smart lock? And then it tells you why. And this is probably something that a marketing person wrote. They said, yeah, these are the reasons, right? How does it work? And this is probably where the marketing person talked to the technical writer, and they came up with something together. How do you explain it in 2 sentences or 2 paragraphs or whatever? And then more marketing stuff, customer-ready solutions in the moments that matter, etc. Right? So, and when you're through that and you want to go deeper into the topic, you go to your Smart Lock Help Center, which is basically an online help, and it gives you all the topics. For example, on how to set it up and what are the installation prerequisites, right? And then you might read it on your computer, you might read it on your phone, but then, like I said, when you're the guy who's setting up the lock, maybe you need a little book that says, this is how you set it up, right? Okay, so you have it set up already, and it's working fine. Well, you got locked out 2 times, but that's okay. Your phone battery died, but then you can recharge it. If you lose your keys, you cannot re-find it. Yeah, and it's working fine. But then you're going on holiday, and then all of a sudden, your phone comes to life, and you get a notification from your smart lock. And it says, share your key with a friend, because it detected that you're going on holiday in 2 days, and it gives you a solution to a problem that you didn't know you had. Who's going to water your plants and feed your cats and your Stegosaurus? Because it's the future. And they've cloned dinosaurs, and you can have a Stegosaurus at home. So the option they give you is share your key with a friend. So you can give somebody a temporary key. And basically, the topic describes how it's going to work. Right? So you're going to say, you're going to send it to Steve, and it's going to say, hey, Steve, here's a key to my house that's going to work within those 2 weeks when I'm on holiday, right? And you know you have this option because this application reminded you. Now, why did it remind you? Well, because the technical writer prepared a piece of content that came to life in the right context, okay? Are you with me? Yeah, okay. Okay, so this is where we talk about implementing intelligence into the content, okay? So the content is intelligent because it knows who should see it. In this case, it's not going to be for the technician who sets up the system. In this case, it's for the user, for the owner, the key master of the house, the person who, in their calendar, they have a 2-week holiday, right? When is it important? Well, maybe it's 2 days before the holiday or something, you know? Like a trigger like that exists in the system. And what should this content be attached to? It's attached to maybe like your calendar event. It may be attached to an email you get. It may be triggered by the location you're at. Okay, because when you think about the help topics in your smart lock system, there's probably different things you're worried about when you're outside the door and different things you're worried about when you're inside the door. Like maybe there's a topic, what do I do when I'm locked out? What do I do when I'm locked in? Okay, this kind of thing. Technically, if you put it in like an XML format, maybe data, you would write a topic like share your key with a friend, and then there's a subtopic that says how to create temporary keys. Right. So one of them is a concept that explains the idea, and it maybe contains a photo. Well, there's a short intro, then there's the body of the topic, which contains a photo and maybe a diagram or some, like a story. Like it says, Mike is going on a holiday and he wants somebody to water his plants, blah, 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 which is stated in the example. And then you have the procedure, which is just a bunch of steps. Now, on top of these 2 things, you have the type of topic, like concept and procedure, and then you have the context, which is what triggers this topic, right? So if there's an absence detected, before the absence, you give somebody this topic. Because maybe there's a different topic that you give somebody after their absence. You discover that somebody hasn't been home for a month, and then they come back, and there's a thing that they got to do because of, maybe something expired, and they have to refresh it or whatever. And there's also a tutorial equals true kind of thing, which maybe says that on your phone it's going to guide you through setting up the key. So you're not just reading about it, but it actually takes you into the application, and it says, click here, type the name of a friend or an email here, and then press send. And it shows you where all those buttons are. And then you have a bunch of these topics, and you put them together into a help center, which is going to look different depending on the user. The key master is going to be different. Maybe there's like a sub-person in the key structure, like you're renting a place out to somebody. They don't have the full rights. Maybe you're the admin and they're the slave. No, it's master slave, admin and user, right? Yeah, so again, you separated the content from presentation, and then you can do whatever you want with it later and put it together. So the three things out of this little section that pertain to content are separating the content, thinking about user scenarios, meaning practically what's the person going to do. Like I said, going on holiday, being locked out, being locked in, or returning after an absence. Those are examples of user scenarios. And implementing intelligence. And intelligence is those three things. Who should see it, when they should see it, and maybe how, or attached to what. Okay, so now that you have this idea, there's going to be a bunch of people you're going to have to involve, because maybe you're not a technical writer who's also a programmer, etc. Right? So I see three roles in the team. One is going to be the writer, and they're going to have to wear two hats: the user's hat and the marketer's hat. You're going to think about how do I explain this really complex, weird thing that we're introducing into the world, which people maybe don't know that they need, right? So it's not just using it, but also why are you using it? You got your tech person, your geek, your programmer, who's working with the documentation team, and they're setting up your tools. And they have to figure out a way for this content to be redistributable in small blocks into different output formats, like your online, your phone, your watch, etc. And then they implement the intelligence. So if you think about events like something in your calendar triggers this, well, somebody has to make sure it works. They write a piece of code that links into your calendar and pulls up the topic when something happens, right? And then there's the manager who, and this is in theme with the SOAP theme. This is what we're talking about here. We all work as one team, right? Because it's not going to be somebody develops an application and you write about it. You guys, the guys who are writing it have to talk to the guys who are creating the code, have to talk to the marketing team, have to talk to the legal team, because maybe you can lock somebody out of their home and there's a suit waiting for you, right? Lawsuit. So I guess the manager's role here is to remember that they're all one team working towards one goal. So to sum up the team section, think about the user, be high tech, meaning don't worry, don't be scared by challenges like you only know how to do PDFs. Well, somebody knows how to figure out that it's not going to be a PDF anymore. It's going to be a context-sensitive application. And there is no I in team, but there is I in win or whatever. So yeah, it's going to be a challenge, but it's something gives you satisfaction in the end. So to sum up, this is what we talked about in this short presentation. You focus on types of content, how you write the content, and what your team is going to be. That's basically just three things, which makes it very easy. Because you just got to do three things, and then you have your help system ready. Okay, three things I want to mention also, which you should check out. One of them is SOAP, and I was going to give it in a different conference, so I would tell them check out SOAP, but we're at SOAP, so let's check out ourselves. It's working fine. ITCQF is a organization that can get you a certificate in technical writing, and they can give you a good way to arrange your knowledge, and make it very scientific. Like if you're looking for a way to have a good system about technical writing, or figure out if there's areas where you still need more experience, etc. Taking the ITCQF course is a good idea, I think. And another thing you should check out if you can read in Polish is techwriter.pl is a blog which writes about technical writing, and it is also looking for writers all the time. So if you guys have ideas for articles, TechWriter is going to be proud to have your content. Okay, and that's it. Any questions?
Any questions? We can have just one.
There we go.
One person.
Gentleman from Dolby. Can I go to the bathroom? Because the answer is, may I go to the bathroom? And yes.
So I have a general question about the Internet of Things. When you write about something, it's best if you're convinced about the thing really working, right?
Sure.
Right.
Right.
And yesterday I was trying to get a cab, and I called like 5 different corporations, and I couldn't get a cab because they didn't have a cab for me. And then one of my friends had an app for a cab, and it took her like 2 minutes to get the cab. And I'm thinking that is this going to be the same thing with the Internet of Things? That I would like to have my old shoes, but there are not going to be any.
Because we killed the old shoe with the new internet shoe, and you just cannot get shoes anywhere.
Yes,
we're trying on the
so
internet.
I'll have to, just hide my old shoes somewhere in the closet.
I don't know. I guess it's like you would like to dig a hole in the ground with your hands. Sure, you can do that, but there's shovels and there's machines that dig the holes. Yeah, I guess. Well, it's like Alex said. You're looking at this future that you see happening around you, but you're also part of it as a technical communicator. You're influencing the market. So if you really want to sabotage internet shoes, you can probably do that. But I don't think you want to do that because you see the benefits of using the shoes, right? I don't know. Did I answer your question, or am I just rambling?
What benefits? I can wear my old shoes and walk.
Well, I mean, you could probably rip out the SIM card out of your shoe, and it's not going to be on the internet anymore.
Hey guys, I'm going to tell you, because they're close friends, those two, and they can go on and on and on like this. So we have to stop it. And
Are there any serious questions?
I'm sorry about that.
Oh, there's a question.
No, just one question. Sorry, we've got half an hour, and we need Mike Hamilton to tell us something more about closely related to this topic. But what I wanted to tell you about Paweł, some of you probably don't know it. Paweł is the other of the co-founders of SOAP, and it happens that he's here with us as 3DI, but he still supports us. So it's a great pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Gosia.